Well, it's nice to meet you. I just literally just finished the movie. I watched it this afternoon, and I just loved it. It was just so wholesome, and I just think what you do and the way you teach and give dominoes to the world like you do is such a great thing. So yeah, I loved it.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Yeah. I'm gonna begin because I know I haven't got too long today. I'm just wondering about when you were first kind of approached about this documentary being made, and what did you take any convincing? Or were you always quite keen for your story to be told in this way?
So when Jeremy reached out to me, the director, I was in college at the time, and I remember he just sent an email to me out of the blue and was like, "Hey, I saw your channel. This is a really cool and fascinating subject, and I thought, maybe we could do a documentary together." And I was like, "Oh, that's pretty cool. I don't think anyone's ever done like a documentary about the dominant community in a way that showcases this new art form." So I was like, "That sounds awesome." Like, I didn't really need a lot of convincing. I was like, this is a cool opportunity, and to get to share that with the world and also share more of my personal story just sounded awesome. So we started filming, and 3 years later we have an amazing film now.
Have you seen the film yet on the big screen? And if so, what was it? What was that like to
Yeah.
see? Is it quite hard?
Yeah.
I can't even watch my interviews back because I feature. How was it watching yourself on screen?
Yeah, so watching it with a live audience on a big screen is definitely a different experience because I'm able to see like the crowd's reactions at the same time while I'm watching it. And it it feels pretty surreal. Like, it's hard to describe the feeling of seeing myself for like 90 minutes, but it has my entire like last 3 years of my life in this whole film. But it feels good, and it feels like kind of a dream in a way to see it all come together.
I mean, it's funny, isn't it? I mean, like the kind of the fame aspect of what you do, because I guess when you kind of start off, it's a sort of hobby. It's something that you just enjoy doing for yourself. But the more successful these kind of videos get, the more hits they got, the more kind of appetite there was for people to see the creator behind them. So I guess now, you're in movies, you're kind of a brand, you've got branded dominoes yourselves. So is that how have you kind of adapted to the kind of the celebrity aspect of this kind of this world? I guess in some ways you've just got to embrace that side of things.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still learning even now. It's never going to stop. I'm always adapting and going with the flow. I think it was sort of a slow progression as my YouTube channel started gaining more traction, more views. But I try not to think about it too much. Like, I want people to just see me as a human, and I do that the same to them. I try not to put a lot of people on pedestals, because at the end of the day, like, we're all human, right? We all do our own thing, and it's fun for sure to get the word out about my dominoes, and I'm so happy that so many people are into what I do and are fans. But yeah, it's kind of weird to like balance the celebrity aspect, but it's fun.
Mm. I mean, you're talking about sort of watching it in a crowd with people around you. If you're watching it next to me, that scene where your parents talk about adopting you, you would have been sitting next to a man in his 30s crying his eyes out, because that scene just had me in tears. You talk about watching the film. How's it watching those moments? I mean, obviously you're probably quite used to seeing yourself do dominoes on screen, but there are some, like you said, you really kind of open up in this, and there's a lot about your childhood and your life. How is it like kind of, yeah, watching those moments back, and in particular watching your parents talk about you too?
Right. Yeah, I remember the first couple of times that I watched the film, I did tear up. I did start crying, particularly during the adoption scenes and moments at the end with the Make-A-Wish, and just the whole wrap up of the film. I think is very impactful. Um, yeah, it is quite emotional and personal for me. But I think now that I've seen the film plenty of times, I'm good now. But yeah, it definitely hit me the first couple of times I did watch it.
I mean, at one point, I guess this would have felt like something that just belonged to you. But now that you've kind of given your dominoes to the world, are you still kind of surprised just how big a community there is out there and how big an appetite there is for this art form? Because one of the things that I found so touching in this was that I felt there were so many young people that came together that probably felt like there was no one else like them. And then there's all this kind of community of people that are so kind of connected by that passion.
Yeah, I mean, Domino's brought us together, and through the power of the internet and YouTube, we were able to meet each other And I think that's just such a beautiful thing, because without internet, like, yeah, we would just be alone in our room setting up dominoes. But now, like, there are other people like us. And I think if anyone else is doing an odd hobby and maybe does feel alone, like, you're not the only one out there. I'm sure there are people who would be interested, and maybe they don't know about it yet, but um, that's how you can kind of connect with them. It's like through the power of social media.
So was there like a light bulb moment for you? Do you remember when this went from being a hobby to you thinking, hang on a minute, this could actually be my career?
Yeah, I think it was during high school. So after you'll see in the movie, I did the Will Smith project for Collateral Beauty, and I actually missed 2 weeks of school to be on the movie set. And at that moment, I'm like, wow, this is like, I'm like on a Hollywood film set with Will Smith. This is unbelievable. And I realized, like, okay, maybe there's something out there. Like, people want me to do like these big professional projects. And I decided after that to take a gap year and pursue domino art and YouTube full time. And during that year, it really taught me a lot. I went all in on making videos and doing corporate projects and commercials and events. And it at that moment, I was like, I could probably do something with this. I could probably go full time. So, spent a year in college and then now doing it full time. So yeah, it worked out.
It's so funny you mentioned that Will Smith moment, because I remember I saw Collateral Beauty for just a press screening, a few years ago, and I remember in that scene I thought, oh my god, someone built that, and I turns out it was
Yeah.
you. Yeah, but yeah, because I mean, it's amazing. I mean, there's obviously scenes in the movie when you're just hugging Katy Perry, like that's just the kind of standard thing you do on a Tuesday, and sort of hanging out with Will Smith and Hugh Jackman sharing your stuff, and Jimmy Fallon and people like that. Is that got normal yet, that side, just being around people like that and being in these kind of situations and around these kind of mega stars that we see their faces on billboards all the time, and suddenly you're just there in these quite intimate spaces with them in some ways?
I mean, I don't think it's normal for me. Like, it's not like I'm like best friends with celebrities or anything. It's like maybe once in a while I'll get a very high profile domino project that I'm a part of that we collaborate on, and we get to meet each other, which is awesome. But I mean, I wouldn't consider it like normal. I'm still very much just Lily, just being me.
Well, I hope that never changes. But I can tell obviously that you enjoy the building process greatly, and I know you must enjoy the kind of the falling process as well. That's where all the art happens. But how's the picking up process, the tidying up process? You must spend so much of your time picking dominoes up, or can you now employ people to do that?
Well, so with dominoes, the cleanup actually isn't too bad. Sometimes it's like a couple of hours, but if I need to sort the colors more, if they're mixed up, that'll take a little bit longer. But you just pick them up with your hands and then put them into bins depending on what the color is. And sometimes I do have help. Sometimes it's just me, but for the most part, it is just me setting them up and then cleaning them up too.
So that in that scene where there's that huge collapse, I was watching the film with my wife, and she turned to me and said, "Oh my God, you would not be calm in a situation like that." And I make her right. I would freak out and just put real tantrum. But you remain so calm. How is that just from practice? Is that just, have you just been in those situations a lot of times now, that when things like that do happen, you just learn just to breathe and then start again?
Yeah, absolutely. I say building with dominoes has really taught me to stay calm and not freak out in very tense situations, because if you do freak out, you'll end up knocking down more dominoes, and you don't want that to happen. So yeah, it's just part of the process. Like, I knock things down all the time, whether it's a small part of the build or even the entire build sometimes. But I learned to just keep on building. Like, that's my tagline I say on my YouTube channel. And I really believe in that, because the more that you build, the more you just pick up the pieces and try again, the more you're going to become a better builder, and you'll be able to overcome these failures and learn from them, and just increase your building skill and your confidence. And um, everything great comes from trying again and really setting your mind to doing something.
So when looking at some of your sort of more iconic YouTube videos, what would you say is the rough time frame it takes to create those? How on average, how long does it take to create one of those kind of amazing YouTube videos that you do?
Yeah, it really ranges depending on the project. Some of my projects could take maybe a couple of days up to a week, maybe a couple of weeks, and then editing the video could take a couple of days. So yeah, like 1 to 2 weeks perhaps.
That's amazing. I mean, I can't. I'm one of those people. Even when I cook, I sort of rush my food and my dinner because I haven't got the patience. So amazing how you do that. But we sort of touched upon all these kind of incredible experiences, and I think some of them obviously come from meeting fans and stuff. Across these kind of years, which I imagine must have been a bit of a whirlwind for you, have you kind of had the chance to take a bit of a step back and take all of this in? Because it's been an incredible journey that you've been on.
Yeah, it's going so fast now that I'm just like, I don't know if it hits me. Like I watched the movie back and I'm like, whoa, I like did this project on the Jimmy Fallon show. Like that's pretty cool. Like nice job. Like it's like later on it hits me. So I don't know. I probably should take more steps back to like see it all and take it in, but it just it's hard when you're like in the thick of things, you know?
Yeah, time goes so quickly. But so my final question then really, I was just wondering what the future holds, because you seem to be constantly kind of doing new things and kind of, moving into, like you said, like, into talk shows, into movies, and then now with your own branded dominoes. I just wondered if you've got a kind of a game plan for the next sort of 10 years, or if you just take it sort of step by step.
Yeah, so I would love to, get the word out about domino art even more with the documentary, of course, that's going to help with that. And hone in more on sort of the educational side of dominoes and everything that it can teach you, whether that's patience or learning from your failure, even physics and geometry and everything that comes from building with dominoes. And maybe starting some sort of like some standardized, or I don't know, like a domino club around the country or around the world where we form these clubs, we get people into dominoes, do workshops, and maybe even have live events, and we get a studio and we can have space to build these elaborate projects and really invite the community in to be a part of that. As well as I love to at some point use my dominoes, H5 domino creations, to build a world record. I don't know what that might be yet, but we are hopefully planning to break a world record sometime with maybe 100 to 200,000 dominoes in the future.
Nice. Well, if you do those kind of domino classes, make them virtual so I can attend.
Yeah, absolutely.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Lily. And yeah, like I said, I just love the movement. I love everything you're doing. So keep on smashing it.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys!
Hey, you guys, huh?
Hey, you guys.
Is that from the Goonies?
It is indeed, yes.
Nice.